What is up, you guys? Glitchiz here, and welcome to an all-new Dauntless video. I know I've been gone for a minute, but I had a lot of things going on in the background that you guys weren't necessarily aware of. For starters, I recently got married, which is super exciting, and I've also been prepping for a brand new VFX job in the film industry, so hopefully I can share with you some of the killer projects that I'm going to be working on in the not too distant future. But with that being said, there's obviously no better time to jump into the game of Dauntless again than with this new 1.10.3 patch. With it, we've got a ton of new stuff, all of which I'll be going over in today's patch notes video. I've also released an in-depth guide for the new Radiant Escalation, so I'll kind of skip over that part when we get to it in this video, but be sure to check out that video because there's a lot of cool tips and tricks in there that when you're new to the escalation, you'll probably miss out on, so be sure to check that out. But without any further ado, let's jump right into it. And right off the bat, the biggest news is we have a brand new really unique behemoth that's coming to the game. It's called Alyra. I love the design of this new behemoth. It's like this cool chimera looking design. It's like if you had the head of a furry riftstalker, the body of an embermane, tail of a koshai, and the wings of a rezakiri, all combined into one behemoth. And it's actually kind of fitting that it has multiple elemental behemoth types kind of built into its look, because for the first time ever in the game of Dauntless, we have a behemoth that can manipulate multiple different elementals types. So every other behemoth has been one element. Alira can control pretty much all of them with the exception of Umbral. And what I mean by that is one of the core mechanics, and it actually took a minute to get used to this when I was fighting it and kind of figuring out the mechanics of the fight. But what Alira does is it drops down a bunch of elemental glyphs on the ground that are all different colors. We've got a yellow one for shock, green one for like terra and poison, blue for frost, and red for fire. And then its default element is obviously radiant. The only other color is pink. That is a friendly glyph that you're allowed to step on. I believe it gives you a attack damage or attack speed buff for a short period of time. Every other color glyph you want to avoid. If you step on them, they will explode and do an elemental type of attack and hurt you. So try to avoid stepping on them with the exception of the pink one. But depending on which one of those glyphs Alyra decides to interact with, the moveset will change. So if it steps on a fire glyph, Alyra might fire like an embermane flame breath. Same thing for the frost glyph. It'll change the flame breath to an ice breath. If she steps on a terra green glyph, all of the close combat attacks will leave like green poisonous slime piles on the ground, which poison you over time, kind of like Agorist. So really cool, unique fight that you're going to have to get used to and kind of have some pretty balanced builds, especially if you're in a party, to kind of suit all the different elements at the same time. So it's a really unique fight. Alira is also very fast. So it makes for a really cool encounter. The other cool thing, obviously, that comes with the new Behemoth launch is a brand new set of gear, which includes a new set of armor and weapons. For the weapons, I'll probably show screenshots here up on the video of what the different weapons look like for each class. But I will say in confidence that the new Alyra weapons, in my opinion, are arguably one of the best, if not the best, new Radiant Bond choice. The passive ability that you get from the new weapon is really, really neat. It basically allows you to swap between two different color glyphs, and you change them by jumping up and down. The red glyph, when activated, will deal 1500 radiant damage in a radius to a behemoth when it interacts with it, and the blue glyph will grant a 150 stacking shield to all slayers in a large radius that expires after 25 seconds. So it's this cool offensive and defensive combination that you get with this unique effect. And it will spawn that glyph after 3 seconds every time you use your lantern hold. So really cool addition. And like I said, it adds a ton of new unique effects to the game and is a really cool bond for any Radiant Keystone Behemoth weapon that you plan on running. So be sure to check that out. And I'll also probably post some turntables here and a quick glimpse of what the new armor set looks like. Now, the cool thing with the armor set, in my opinion, the armor set isn't the greatest armor set in the world. If you had to pick one piece that would be really beneficial and probably want to use a lot of the time, depending on your build, would probably be the helmet. And that is because it has a new perk on it that is coming with this patch as well, called Invigorate. And Invigorate is in what I'm considering to be the top tier #1 spot for mobility cells. It is a really cool cell, which will probably be the best choice for any Tempest build. And what it does is while your maximum stamina is below 50%, it will grant +10 up to +50% additional movement speed. So you can see how in a Tempest build that could give you a ton of extra damage. So really, really cool new perk that's going to be coming, and a great addition to the mobility perk list. Obviously, Radiant Escalation. I won't go into too much detail with it, but it is awesome, and they've added a really cool puzzle to it, which adds a really neat mechanic. They've got some cannons and stuff in there. Feel free to check out my Radiant Escalation guide that's already out. That goes fully in depth on all of the amps, perks, different puzzles that you can solve within the escalation, as well as the location of the new lore node within the Radiant Escalation. So be sure to check out that video again. Moving on, we have a new set of cosmetic hunt passes that are coming with this patch. We have the Shadow Slayers and Secret Assassins cosmetic pack. The Andari Assassins emerge from the shadows once again, just in time to help in the fight against the light. Shadow Slayers bring brand new rewards, while Secret Assassins contains returning rewards originally available in the old 2019 Hidden Blades Hunt Pass. So for those of you that weren't around back then, that was the old school, really cool, like ninja assassin armor set that came out. And the new Shadow Slayer set is a cool, like, samurai ninja variation of it that has some really cool like VFX on it, which the old set didn't have. So it's like a souped up version of it. I'll probably show some video of that as well. So really cool update to the new cosmetic passes. And by the way, I've already been told that I'm going to be getting a bunch of those free cosmetic codes to be giving away on the Glitch Gang Discord. So if you're looking for a great community to interact with and want a chance at winning one of these free cosmetic hunt pass codes, be sure to check out those links down in the description below and join us. We would love to see you around. We have hundreds of Slayers in there, always looking for new people to hunt with. And again, I'll be doing this giveaway right when the new patch launches tomorrow at reset. So be sure to check that out. Moving on, we have new additions to the reward cache. It's called Return to Light Surge, and the Return to Light season continues with new weekly challenges, story quests, and new reward cache items. Collect prismatic coins to unlock the Adamant gear set, inspired by the Scarred Master's Order of the Aether-wielding monks. Now, I don't know if you guys were around back then, but I think in like year one, probably one of the earlier sets, they had a really cool like monk, martial artist monk themed set. This is a new variation of that, and we've got a new variation for every one of the weapons. So really cool set. I actually really like the sword and hammer design, and again, I'll probably put some turntables of what those look like in game right now. So really cool sets, and be sure to save up those coins and pick those up before this season finally ends. Moving on, I kind of showed this off in my Radiant Escalation video, but the Heroic Escalation crowning achievement will be coming June 23rd. That is the week that the Heroic Radiant Escalation is going to drop, and will also be the week that we will have the first chance, if you've been saving up your heroic merits, to unlock the new crest of the Chronovore, which is this new Radiant Escalation, Heroic Radiant Escalation themed helmet, or crown rather. Really cool design, and when you see it in game, I'll probably show some video of it here. It looks really, really cool. Arguably one of the best designs I've seen yet. I love the gradient, and it's got some really cool sparkle effects on it as you're wearing it. So really neat design, and obviously this is going to be the last and final Heroic Escalation. So once you unlock this one, that will also unlock the opportunity to get the Crown of Many Colors, which is the fabled rainbow crown that they've been announcing over the last few months. That also looks really cool. So yeah, June 23rd will be the week to hunt that down and get those last few crowns. So pretty excited about that. Moving on, we have the new Trials reward, the Champion's Light. The Champion's Light is a lantern skin now available at Lady Luck's shop. You will have to have held a top 100 place successfully in the Trials leaderboard in order for this item to show up on the shop list. So get down to the Trials Island and try and get one of those top scores. It's definitely a lot easier now, so be sure to snag that lantern when you can. Moving on to Chronovore, there's been a ton of changes with Chronovore, mainly because it's not isolated to the Paradox breaks anymore. It is solely in the Radiant Escalation. So with that, they had to tune a few different things. The new Chronovore's themed banner fabric and sigil rewards can now be earned When you reach level 25 in the Radiant Escalation, again, I showed that off in the Radiant Escalation guide video that I released. The Chronovore Cosmetic armor set can now be earned by reaching level 25 as well. That is the Golden Epoch set, which was also shown off in that video. And the journal updates have also been updated as well. Further down the line, when we go over the bug fixes and UI fixes and things like that, there is some balance changes that we'll go over for Chronovore as well. It does feel, long story short, a little bit easier now, so you'll be able to break things easier and the fight can go a little bit faster. But moving on to balance changes for Escalation, returning to Radiant Escalation was a great opportunity to think about Escalation as a whole. One of the biggest changes to the game mode is the removal of Straga's Tonic, which I went over in my guide video, and the addition of Straga's Harvester. And what that does, quick summary, in case you haven't seen that video, is the old one basically affected the quality of your tonics. The Straga's Harvester affects the amount of park break materials that you get. So there's a basically, I believe at max tier, a bonus 15% chance to get double the materials on a part break when you fight behemoths. So if you have a lot of armor that you still need to unlock and you want to get those parts pretty quick, be sure to put your points into that temporarily until you get everything you need, because that will give you a ton of extra parts at the end of the escalation run for all the behemoths that you took down. So really, really cool update there. Straga's Tonic created a problem design space for the escalation. While the mode has a lot of defensive power, always on lifesteal for all players of all skill levels makes designing true challenges, well, challenging. With the addition of Iceborne and other defensive Omnicells, Strega Tonic obviously was no longer contributed to the kind of experience we wanted Slayers to have. On the other hand, adding Straga's Harvester should now make it more rewarding to play Escalation past talent level 25, again, to unlock more parts to get those endgame gear sets made. Moving on, elemental variants can now appear in escalations outside of their own element. That means like Frost Snasher and things like that can show up in Radiant Escalation. They're not limited to just the element that they are. They replaced Straga's Tonic with Straga's Harvester. They changed the planar voyage modifier. Slayers in the Umbral realm are now unstaggerable and take 50% less damage. Every 750 damage dealt to the behemoth while in the Umbral realm builds a stack, and when planar voyage ends, all allies get a plus 10% damage buff for each stack built. Now, for those of you that don't know what planar voyage is, that was the modifier that we saw in Umbral Escalation, where you could go into like the void realm and you kind of played Pac-Man and had to go pick up all the orbs off the ground, which had some benefits, but it also had some downsides because you could still have some debuffs on you when you were going through that. They've basically taken all that away and made it a strictly offensive ability now. So as long as one of your teammates can go in there, excuse me, and build up a bunch of those stacks, once you come out of that umbral form, your entire party gets a huge damage buff. So really, really cool there, and definitely something you're going to want to snag when you're in the escalations now. They also changed the Farslayer's Precision Amp to increase wound damage dealt without reducing part damage. So before, on all the escalation talent trees, you had to sub the part damage modifier in exchange for wound damage. Now that amp gives you just straight wound damage at no downside to part damage. So it's way buffed now and really good for those Chainblade and Warpike builds. And then last but not least, Behemoths and Heroic Escalation and Trials no longer have additional wound health and scaling on top of their normal power levels. So wounding will be much more easy for those wounding type weapons. So that's really nice. Moving on to the Paradox breaks. Obviously, things are changing because behemoths are moving around. The first big thing is behemoths on the Paradox breaks will no longer spawn with the Elder Spikes or the Primal Pylon modifiers. So you don't have to worry about any of those little modifiers rotating around the behemoth or having to deal with the pylons anymore. Those are gone on all of them. They will show up in the Radiant Escalation, but no longer in the Paradox break hunting grounds. They will, however, still drop one Chronostone upon defeating them. The other cool thing is that the Paradoxicon now only costs 4 Chronostones instead of 8. So if you had a lot of them saved up, it'll be much easier and you'll get a lot more runs in now, and you'll be able to do that fight a lot more frequently. And activating the Paradoxicon will now begin the Melodic Convergence Island event, which is the temporal anomaly event where Alira will spawn. So that is the new home for the new behemoth. You want to farm that, you got to go to the Paradox breaks. Throw in those 4 Chronostones. You'll have 2 rounds of normal behemoths, just like we did with the Chronovore. But instead of the Chronovore appearing now, it's going to be Alira that we're going to be fighting. Same arena, same everything, just a different behemoth. So yeah, that is where you'll be going to farm the new behemoth. Moving on to the Chronovore updates. They shorten the damage window of all of its tail attacks, reduce the speed of the Chronovore's tail sweep attack, increase the interrupt window for interruptible moves, so mounting and things like that are also much easier. Radiant beam attacks now stagger when hitting a player. Increase the duration and of the anticipation animation that plays when Chronovore transitions from its knotted state to its tail wipe attacks. They slowed the Chronovore's snake bite attack and increased the duration of its tail. They increased the time between the Chronovore disappearing and reappearing to grab a Slayer during a temporal mastication sync attack. The Radiant Aether Shockwave now traps Slayers in Radiant Prisms instead of putting you on fire and burning you. So that's those like Radiant Rings that spawn on the ground. They won't burn you over time now, they just trap you. And they increased the area of effect range of all of Chronovore's slam attacks. In my opinion, like I was saying, and I mentioned this in the Radiant Escalation Guide video I put out, it feels a lot easier now. Maybe because of just the amps you get within the escalation, but it makes that Chronovore fight a lot more enjoyable. You get a lot more part breaks, especially with that new part break amp. A lot of the animations for the Chronovore, the tells of the different moves and whatnot, are way smoother now. So you can see the moves, you can read them, you can dodge it. He's still a fast behemoth, but the moves are a lot more readable and it's a lot cleaner of a fight, in my opinion. So really good update on Chronovore for this patch. And the axe got a little buff. Perfectly charged axe strikes now also grant a 50% damage reduction to the user in addition to the stagger immunity. Moving on for quality of life. And this is a big one, and I show this off in my Radiant Escalation build as well. Maybe I'll show a clip here. The blinded effect that you get when Rezakiri exits and enters the arena, when you step on a Radiant Smollusk, or when Rezakiri does its beam attack, will no longer purely white flash out your entire screen. It is this cool new like fuzzy black and white gradient effect, which is way easier on people's eyes that have like vision problems and things like that. It's not as like irritating. So big update there, and I definitely like the look of it much better. Moving on to Chronovore quality of life updates. They improved the number of Chronovore's attack animations to add more bounce and overlap to the feedback. They adjusted the hitboxes across various attacks to better match the animations. They improved player collision with the Chronovore, so hopefully you don't get flung around everywhere again. Improved VFX for the Radiant projectiles, improved VFX for the Rage state, improved VFX for the Timeline breach attack. The exact location of Radiant Aether Shockwaves should now be much easier to see on the ground. And they adjusted the Chronovore's vocalizations and audio cues. So again, obvious improvements, always a good thing. Moving on to escalation quality of life. They increased the amount of time mod descriptions are shown before the next upcoming round. So there was a tendency for them to disappear quickly and you wouldn't see them right away. Amps with effects that scale with the amount of Slayers selecting them, like squad goals, now displays how many players have selected them in the chat log. So now you don't have to like read through and kind of guess which of your random teammates has it or not. It will tell you the number of people that has it. Excuse me. And last but not least, they gave special names to all of the heroic versions of the Keystone Behemoths. So it's now called Storm Rider Malkarian, Landbreaker Torgadoro, Fear Eater Thrax, Blightbringer Agarus, Bone Chiller Urska, and Soul Reaper Chronovore. So they have cool, new, unique heroic names. Moving on to some other Behemoth updates for Koshai. They updated Koshai's running animations. There's no more slowly sauntering back to the Aether Vent. It will run properly. Or Valamir, they updated Valamir's Constellar Beam attack to use a new beam effect system instead. The Recruit Lantern got a quick change, unlocking the lantern's craft in the crafting node. Now also grants the Recruiting Lantern itself, so you don't have to go to two different places to pick it up. Slayers who already unlock that node will get the Recruit's Lantern added to their inventory automatically. The Lantern ability will grant 300 shields, so obviously the first Lantern people get, it's a classic. For UI updates, they updated the start screen welcome message. They updated the main menu artwork to show your Slayer in the preview window. They rewrote menu descriptions for all game modes, adding potential rewards and unlock requirements. This should help new Slayers find the content that is right for them. Adjusted menu descriptions for all hunting grounds. This should help all Slayers know what to expect on each island. They updated the combat info screen to reflect recent changes to status effects and added the corrupted in swarm status effects. They improved the spacing and navigation of some Slayer's Path nodes. They improved the escalation overview screen to be easier to navigate and show more relevant artwork. They updated text on end of hunt screens, removed the word challenge from the Aetherwinds UI to reduce confusion with other challenges, and last but not least, added new hints that appear on loading screens. Moving on to bug fixes, and there's quite a bit of them, but that's always a good thing. For Chronovore, they fixed an issue where the Chronovore's body would incorrectly receive part damage, and fixed an issue where Chronovore's glowing eye effect would be missing during its rage state. For Malkurian, they fixed an issue where Malkurian's mastery cards didn't unlock properly. For Thrax, they fixed an issue where players could not break Thrax parts after a portal train attack. Moving on to general gameplay bug fixes, the Icy Grave modifier now targets players who are chilled since the frozen status effect no longer exists. They clarified the description of the unique effect for Hellion weapons and now refers to blaze status buildup instead of major blaze damage. And last but not least, they clarified the Bastion Omnicell description to correctly state it grants a chance to grant shields when dealing damage, not taking it. For quest changes, they fixed an issue where weekly challenges would appear would have to be reset. Fixed an issue where objectives that ask Slayers to collect an item would sometimes not complete. Fixed an issue where bounty names would sometimes run outside of their box when displayed in languages other than English. Fixed an issue where breaking Skarn's rock shields wouldn't progress objectives properly. Fixed an issue where some objectives had incorrect strings, and fixed various text issues across multiple quests. Moving on to Ramsgate, they fixed an issue where some of the players would not be able to claim their daily reward at the fountain until they left and re-entered Ramsgate. So that's a big one. That's been around for a while. The Hunting Grounds, they fixed an issue where lesser behemoths could spawn in the Aether Surge Island event on Cape Fury, and fixed an issue where Phalanx could spawn weaker than intended during the Infernal Gaze Island event. Moving on to Environmental, fixed an issue where broken trees had no incorrect texture, fixed an issue where some environmental textures could appear as solid black, fixed an issue where behemoths could sometimes spawn in strange places on the Paradox breaks and get stuck in the Paradox Con Arena. Slayers could no longer fall through the sand piles in the Paradox Arena, and they also improved overall performance on the Paradox breaks as a whole. For audio, fixed an issue where Aether Charge music would not play correctly in some encounters. For cosmetics, the monstrous Horns Helm skin no longer makes the player appear bald. That was a big one. A lot of us partners were complaining about that. The Malkurian's Crest Crown once again displays the correct icon. Fixed an issue where their Marauder's coat would clip body type 2. The first Slayer helm once again displays the correct icon. Fixed an issue where the Champion's armor skins would sometimes have the wrong color, default dye colors, and fixed the rarity of some of the cosmetic types. Last but not least, for UI, the social panel now properly displays linked Slayer invites. Fixed an issue where players using a controller could sometimes get stuck in the Hunt Pass selection screen. The True Love Flare once again displays the correct symbol. Bloodshot Flare displays the correct symbol. They renamed the Vortex Hero die to just Hero to avoid confusion with the actual Vortex die. The Contusion die now properly displays the correct name in the inventory. Locked Islands no longer always incorrectly say you must be level 18. Fix a typo in the Hunger's description. Fix an issue where the objectives listed in the Trials Gold panel would occasionally flicker. Fix an issue where challenge complete notifications would display the wrong coin icon. Fix a number of issues on the Hunt screen and social panel. Fix a number of issues where near transparent boxes would appear on various UI screens. And last but not least, they fixed instances of squished icons and logos and random typos throughout the different journal entries. So a ton of stuff, obviously, to go over this patch, but it's probably one of the biggest patches we've ever seen for Dauntless. So great time to come back. Alira is a super fun fight, super unique. Never seen anything like it in Dauntless before. The Radiant Escalation is awesome. Really cool puzzle mechanics. Again, be sure to go check out that Radiant Escalation guide video. And be sure to hop over to the Paradox Breaks now to pick up the parts for our new gear and weapons. So yeah, that is pretty much it for patch 1.10.3. Super exciting time to be in the game, you guys. But yeah, if you found this video informative, you enjoyed it, Be sure to smash that like button, comment down below, tell me what you're most excited about. And if you want to keep up to date on all my future content, consider subscribing, and be sure to turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of the future uploads. Last but not least, if you are looking for a great community to interact with, be sure to check out the links below and join us on the Glitch Gang Discord. Again, hundreds of Slayers in there, always looking for new people to hunt with, and I'll be giving away a bunch of Cosmetic Hunt Pass codes for the two new Cosmetic Hunt Passes that are coming out. So be sure to check that out, join us, have some fun, and have a chance to win those giveaway prizes. And yeah, if you're enjoying the videos and want to support me even more, you can actually do so now by becoming a channel member. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can get instant access to my in-game Dauntless partner flare, as well as a bunch of really cool other unique perks, like a cool in-game title for the Glitch Gang Discord, some cool emojis and things like that, as well as your name at the credits of every one of my videos. So if that sounds like something you might be interested, just check out the join button below to learn more. But yeah, that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you all had an amazing day, and I will catch you all in the next one.